Hello, hello, hello. It's been a minute. Let's just jump straight into it. So, like in this video, as you can tell with the title, I kind of want to start analyzing pain, and I'll be looking at pain in like a couple ways. So I think I'll be naming like a few characters in like different movies and TV series, and even like real life situations and with real life people. I won't be looking deeply into each person, but just more how pain has like affected them, how it in turn affects us. So, pain, what is it? I think it's kind of difficult to finger on. It's unpleasant physical, and I would add a mental sensation in a reaction to something. I think everybody understands physical pain. If you hit your leg with a hammer, you're not surprised when it hurts like a bitch, you know? And I want to talk a bit more about the mental side of pain and sort of delving deeper into that. Right, so let's just get into it. The first sort of character and situation I'm putting out is a Thor from Marvel. I don't want to spend too long on this. I've covered him before, covered all my disappointment with him. I'll throw in a small little clip here of sort of the pain and his whole sort of backstory.
So dead brother, huh? Yeah, it could be annoying.
Well, he's been dead before. This time I think it really might be true.
And you said your sister and your dad,
Both dead.
but still got a mom, though?
Killed by a dark elf.
A best friend?
Stabbed through the heart.
And again, I'm not too interested in the story here. I've covered it before. I'll try finding it and linking it somewhere on the video. I still feel the disappointment. But I sort of want to talk more about his pain and his reaction to it. And I think this particular situation he is in has a sort of a message in it. Like no matter who you are, like no matter how long you live, how powerful you are, pain is something we all kind of have to deal with. Even looking at something like God or Allah, trying to keep a religion out of it, I don't think anybody would claim he's not all powerful. But when you look at certain stories, like the rebellion up there, or even look at Jesus' story, his only son being put on a cross, like even the most powerful of people or gods or whatever name you want to put on it, humans, has to go through pain. To go back to Thor, his reaction to something he felt he couldn't take was to sort of hide and to become this keyboard and online warrior instead, to the point where he left his people, his friends aside, the ones that were still around, and decided to go online and become this person who sort of hides from that pain. And as much as that sort of situation he was in only lasted the span of 5 years, there's people out there who can get stuck within this phase for a lot longer. Me being one of them. No, I understand he goes through a lot, and that he's a fictional character. Right, I get that too. But what makes people leave the things they love? What makes them go back or to start doing drugs or to go back to their addiction? What makes someone who is 25 years sober? It doesn't have to be 25, or even like a 5 year in this case, a 5 year sober chip. What makes them go back? His people and being king was something Thor always wanted for so long. There's so much movies and everything which was leading up to that point. But what kind of level of the pain his situation made him turn his back on that? Something he's worked on for 1500 years. I know it's a lot more than humans will, and I understand fictional character and everything, but just what made him give up on it all? I think the truth is numbers and facts and even destiny, they all only go so far. You could tell people 1 plus 1 is 2, But if everyone believed that it was 3, they would never really believe you, especially if you douse it in emotion. Hey, that's not the best example I've come up with, but come on, give me a break. You can still understand its premise. We need pain and all the other emotions to drive us, to be able to get us to that extra distance. To be able to sympathize and love life and connect with others. People can tell you, in Thor's case, if we build a machine, we can get to the past and get everybody back. People around him told him 1 + 1 = 2, by saying if we build this machine and we can undo everything, like I said. But he believed 1 + 1 = 3, by sort of focusing on his pain and his emotions, and not so much not looking at the facts, but just maybe it's a case of not believing in them. I still haven't quite got my head around that sort of part of it. But the fact was there. Like he could go back and change things and get everybody back, but he just wasn't looking at that. He was looking towards the emotion. He didn't have the hope. I think that just goes to what I was saying before. Like we need the emotions. We can't just, the facts alone aren't enough. I want to bring in another character for this. I mean, again, I'm not delving deep into their stories or analysing their TV series or movies. That's for the podcast. But I do want to give a quick note. His main sort of source of pain comes from his wife and his family being killed by his best friend. And then along with that comes a lot of like other stuff, like government that's fucked him over. Every time he sort of wants to get out of it, he's not sort of allowed to. He's almost like the reluctant hero archetype. Again, he's no hero. He's the Punisher. In my opinion, it's one of the best sort of Marvel TV series they've made so far. So I don't want to say too much and ruin it. Or what I need from this character for this video is for us to just agree that he's just been through a lot of pain, and instead of becoming the online warrior or the side joke for a movie, you can tell I'm still a little bit annoyed from Thor. Anyway, he went on the revenge path, and part of the reason he goes on the revenge path, Thor doesn't, is this innate sense of power. And I think a sense of being able to do something. I don't think there's anyone who would argue that Thor is a much stronger character than Punisher. But the difference is Punisher's able to do something. His years in the army and in the special forces have turned him into someone who can do something. Get revenge by killing those responsible for his family. Again, I don't want to ruin his story. I very much suggest go and watch this series. But in Thor's case, after he went for the head, which by the way was one of the best sort of connections and transitions in the film I've seen in a while. It's classic sort of Marvel. He couldn't return things to normal. There was nothing else he could do to sort of fix the situation. The difference between going back to the drugs or being a keyboard warrior to someone who does something. Okay, keeping in mind going on a revenge path and becoming a serial killer is probably the more extreme end of the spectrum. I think is having that sense of being able to do something. I think Spider-Man sort of sums it up pretty well. If you couldn't tell, I am a bit of a fanboy of the Marvel films, or at least I was. Story for another time. He says when you can do the things I can and you don't, and then the bad things happen, they happen because of you. And I think that it's a sense of power within that. That's the reason why people go down the Punisher route rather than the Thor route. You might be the biggest, baddest motherfucker in the series or this world, but if you believe you're not, or you believe you can't do something about a certain situation or you feel trapped by the pain, then a keyboard warrior or alcoholic or whatever your defense is, it just is going to be. I think a prime example of that is Jasper from the 100. I mentioned him before in videos, so I won't get deeper into him. But he was trapped in an underground cell for a few weeks. Long story short, spoilers incoming by the way. His girl died, and a lot. He went through a lot of shit. Is what I'm just trying to get at. And I've talked about him before, so I won't open that can of worms. I mean, shit. But like, when so much gets taken away from you, why do people like Jasper go to suicide, and others like Mike Tyson, who we'll talk about in a moment, become the heavyweight champion of the world? What makes someone like the Punisher attack and Jasper give up? I think each of the three characters named or shown in this episode shows us the different sort of negative ways we don't deal with pain. When you look at Thor, he sort of drinks and becomes an online warrior to hide from his failure. He doesn't want to deal with the pain of that failure. But it's similar with the Punisher, but he doesn't want to deal with the pain of the loss. He doesn't fully want to accept or realize his family's gone. Okay, these are fictional characters too, I understand. And okay, these characters go through more than the average person probably ever will. But I also think there's something to be learned with that, to look at the extreme cases, look sort of where things went wrong, or to look at these situations and use them to help reflect on your own. Or I could just be overthinking. So if we move on to a real world example rather than staying on all the fictional ones, we can move on to someone like Mike Tyson, a person who's sort of born into pain. If you've ever heard his podcasting, he talks about it every now and then. Where there's a particular one I seen, it was in like a YouTube clips. There's the only positive thing in his youth, or his younger life, was the fact that he got a free lunch. Imagine that life, The only thing you have to look forward to was a free lunch. The only reason you got a free lunch was because you were too poor that the government needed to feed you. And again, there's no judgment here, as much as it might sound like it. There's just a really shit ton of respect, for him to go from that life, and for him to use all of that to become one, if not the best heavyweight champion of all time. Yes, okay, he's not perfect, and his personality is nothing to scream about, and he's definitely not a living icon. But he was able to use that pain that sort of surrounded him, and he made something of himself with it. And not just made something of himself, but became the heavyweight sort of champion of the world. And that takes a lot. And no shit, Sherlock. But I think the difference between the two of them is Mike Tyson is able to take that pain and use it into something positive rather than turning away and hiding from it. Yeah, I remember reading or listening to a world champion who was never quite there until his father passed away. But as soon as he did, and after it, if I remember correctly, he became the lightweight champion of the world. Now, I did try doing a bit of research to find the name of the person and to try and find that video again, but I just can't seem to find it. If anybody knows who I'm talking about, put it in the comments for me, and I'll link it in the video at some point. Or really annoying, I can't remember, I can't find it, but it is what it is. Or there's also this other coach who brought up a fighter's dead father in the middle of a fight, there's another boxing fight that he was losing, and after that round, he sort of almost like had an epiphany and managed to turn the fight around that he was losing, and give a motivational speech at the end when he did win. I'd really love to delve deeper into like those analysis too, and try and get an answer of why. But for this first episode, I think we'll keep it there because we're already running on to our 17th minute. Maybe someday I'll find the secret to dealing with or being able to push through or use pain as a thing. And there is a positive of overthinking. But for now, there's not really much of an answer. Before I do go on to finish up this video, I think I need to stress the importance of getting help when you need it. Seek a professional and all that, whatever that means, or talk to a friend, someone you trust. I'm just some 20-year-old on YouTube who makes videos. If you are struggling, I hope you're able to get to a good place. It's a lot less fun to do it alone, trust me. I'm the last person to judge, life can hit you harder than a bag of bricks, it can get you questioning the whole thing at times. With all that being said, I think the truth about pain and loss is everybody feels it. Gods, slaves, to animals, whether you're black, white, blue or green. Everybody has a story, and we can sit around and have our victim speeches and get our victim points, which ultimately mean nothing. We can argue about how mine is worse than yours and vice versa. We can do a Jasper or a Thor and feel sorry for ourselves and wallow in our own self-pity and pain. Try to drink, smoke, or eat it away, letting it consume us. Because if you give it enough room, it will, trust me. Trust me, brother. We can really obsess over it, ask questions we'll know probably, nah, fuck it. We'll ask questions we'll know we'll never get the answers to. Think about people we've lost way too much. What I sort of found with all the research and all the thinking on this episode is, do you let it defeat you or do you defeat it? Do you want to stand up like Mike? Maybe not like the Punisher, but you do you. Do you let it beat you, or do you want to stand up when you're on 2 feet, knock down your pants and finally you actually have a set of balls? Maybe not if you're a woman. But you get my point. You want to show yourself that you actually have cojones, that you actually have some kind of a spirit. The world can throw itself at you, but you fight. When others would give up. Once you're able to deal with that pain, when that pain becomes manageable. You might not want to hear this, but it never goes away in my experience anyway. It just becomes a lot more manageable, but it's always going to be there, But what evens out that pain is a power and a self-respect that never goes away. I'm no Rocky Balboa or Sylvester Stallone, and the last couple of minutes have been sounding like a heartwarming motivational speech. I don't know about all that. I'm just a person who has been and done a bit of research now. Been and done both. I've been the bitch that drowns his sorrows, and I've also been the one that stands up, and I choose to be a Mike or to be that person with the cojones all day. Pain is a weird topic. It's always there. Sometimes it gets stronger and other times weaker, and there can be things that magnify it, and I don't know what's the opposite of that. Unmagnify it. My English is great. I think I did an okay job today, and We are hitting on the 20th minute mark, but I really did enjoy doing all this research, and maybe we'll do it again, do another episode and delve deeper or whatever, because I think there's more places to go and more things I can say about this topic. But let me know what you guys think and what you sort of want to hear next, and for now, peace.